I used to follow Donald Glaude around all over the place. I first found out about Donald Glaude in Philadelphia because he played whistle 4, I think, and I was on that lineup too. And he played, I think it was whistle 4. He played right before Anabolic Frolic. So, same stage. So, me and a few of my crew are standing there waiting for Anabolic because we were all happy hardcore kids. So, we were there for Anabolic, but we're there and like we're catching like the last 20 minutes of Donald Glaude's set, and he's killing it. Absolutely killing it. I mean, you know, house is obviously way slower than UK hardcore, but we were digging it. I mean, he had his dreads flying in the air. I think at one point, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I thought it was on purpose. He like pretended that like the turntables cut out, so everything went silent for a minute, and people were like, "Ah, man." And then like we're like, "Ah, what's wrong? I hope they can fix it." And then he brings back the beat, and you're like, "Yeah!" So like he had a really good way about him to like create anticipation with things. So yeah, sorry, I got a text. I just wanted to read it real quick. I had to look like that because my phone's sideways. But yeah, Donald was amazing. Shortly after that, we went to a rave called Afterlife that was in Cleveland, I believe. And in Cleveland, that show actually got shut down. I'll never forget. It was like a raid, apparently. Like, Donald had played for like a track or two, and the night was already like halfway over. And yeah, I'll have to get into that story sometime because that has a whole other story that doesn't include Donald Glaude that was insane. But I'm walking in with all these ravers running out of this warehouse. I dropped my pill on the ground and I couldn't find it. And I ended up picking up a pebble that I thought was the pill. And yeah, so that was a $20 pebble for me. But I'll never forget, we saw Donald Glaude in the parking lot. And as he was walking by, I said, "Donald." And he stopped and he looked, and he had like, I don't know if it was the rave promoters or the management of him around him or whoever it was, but they were kind of like, "Come on, Donald, come on." And he stopped, and I said, "Dude, we drove all the way from Pittsburgh to see you tonight." And he dropped his record box and he gave me a giant bear hug. He's like, "Yeah, man, yeah." And he like gave me this huge hug and was laughing and, you know, totally being like a Chris Farley about it. It was amazing. So we chatted with him only for about 30 seconds because, you know, his management or the promoters or whoever it was, they were just doing their job, you know, but they were like, "Donald, let's go, come on." So they were kind of being the bad cop to his good cop and kind of hustling him along. He probably had a flight or something, or, you know, whatever it was. But saw him a bunch of times in at Ultra, because shortly after that I'd moved to Florida, so I had the pleasure to see him. What was it now? I think it was Bad Boy Bill, him, and then DJ Dan one year, and then one year him and DJ Dan tag teamed, and then another year he was on this like real small side stage for some paint party or something like that. And we flew out to California and did a road trip from LA to San Diego and just bummed around Southern California for a week, and saw him in San Diego. Actually, no, we tried to get in San Diego, but I think something was weird with that. Like, I think maybe April wasn't 21, or probably April and Shelby were not 21, so they could not get in. So we just hung outside, and we ran into Donald outside. I've got the pictures from so many of these times. And we chatted with Donald for a minute. He said he would try to get us on the guest list. You know, I just think when it comes to underagers, I don't know if we even told him that or if he knew, but I don't think it ended up happening. But we hung out with him, we chatted with him for a minute, and then we ended up going to the Hustler store right around the corner from that club. Somewhere in between all of that, at one point we saw him in Toronto at the Government before it closed, which was awesome. And then where else do we see him? We saw him in Pittsburgh at the casino on the north side. I have a little bit of hearing damage in this ear from that show, actually. Awesome times with Donald Glaude. I mean, I don't even know if he would remember me, but yeah, awesome times. And then the really cool thing, to kind of bring this all full circle, is I eventually ended up moving to Seattle for a short time, and I played the Last Supper Club a few times. And I remember as a younger DJ first hearing about Donald Glaude in Philly and Toronto and all that, knowing that the Last Supper Club was a heavy supporter of him in Seattle. So that was super cool. And DJ Gobo out there or something like that, I can't remember his name, back when I was living in Pittsburgh a few years before that, or probably actually like 5 to 7 years before that, wanted to really book me and bring me out to Seattle to play some of his hardcore raves in Soto with Jiminy Cricket and all that. But I played with Jiminy in Pittsburgh a bunch of times too. But yeah, Donald Glaude was awesome. Followed him all over the country. To a degree, he was my Grateful Dead, if you will. And great guy, awesome, and I really do wish him well, because he was one of those DJs that like really made me believe that I could do it. And he was always very accessible, which I'm sure is exhausting, you know, after a set to have to talk to 50 ravers that are half twisted, and it's exhausting. But and you know, he had kids and stuff back in Washington, so it can be tough. But he was always a very good guy, very cordial to me. One last story too, I played a show with him in Philly. I just remember this. I played a show with him in Philly where I played upstairs and he was playing downstairs on the main stage. So when I finished up my set, I walked right onto the main stage at this club and said to Donald, hey, what's up? Do you remember me? And he said he did. And the security was giving him a hard time about bringing water up onto the stage. I guess they didn't want it around the gear. And he kind of like rolled his eyes and looked annoyed. And I said, hey, do you want me to hold that for you? And he said, yeah. So I held his water for him. Just little silly things like that, you know. And I stood on the side of the stage. I was the only one on the stage with him. And he was just going nuts. And I could tell he kind of wanted a little bit more energy from me. Like he would execute some crazy cool like turntable trick. And he'd look over at me. And I was kind of more so like withdrawn and chilling, because to a degree, I wasn't really sure how to handle myself, and I wanted to kind of get in with him if I could. But even more so than that, to be honest with you, I was chilling out because I was watching what he was doing. So it was hard for me to be in the moment and be like, yeah, that was so dope, because instead I was like looking at the mixer and watching how he was setting up these tricks so that I could use them too. So just cool times like that. Go find a DJ that you love and follow them around for a few years. You won't regret it. Love you, Donald.